Hi, I'm Phoebe Kilby. I'm the Chief Development Officer for the Center for Justice and Peacebuilding at Eastern Mennonite University. First of all, I'd like to thank you for your interest in CJP. The faculty and staff and students really appreciate your support. Now, usually, with loyal donors and supporters like you, I like to have an in-person visit with you so I could tell you a little bit about CJP and its work, and also thank you in person. But since you're looking at this video, the reason is probably because we've not been able to set up such a meeting. So I decided to do an experiment, and that's a virtual visit using this video. I know your time is very important, so this will be short, but I wanted to select a few stories that are very interesting about CJP's work and tell you a little bit about them through those stories. Of course, how to stabilize and bring peace to Afghanistan has been a major concern for our country over the last few years. And one of our professors, Dr. Lisa Shirk, is addressing this issue with her newly created organization, the 3D Security Initiative. This initiative is oriented toward trying to influence our U.S. policymakers in Washington, D.C. The 3D security approach emphasizes the promotion of development, that's aid, and diplomacy or peace building, as opposed to always resorting to defense or military action in our foreign policy. So she has been going to Capitol Hill and the State Department and talking to policymakers there. She brings along some of our students to provide a fresh perspective. And she has begun to become quite recognized in the field in her work. An example of this is that last Thanksgiving, just prior to that, she was invited to the White House by the Obama administration to provide some input on the U.S.-Afghan policy. And beyond that, after Thanksgiving, 2 of our Afghan students were also invited to the White House to give their opinions about how U.S. aid should be provided in concert with the Afghan people. So as you can see, we are making some very significant differences there, and we're very proud that we have Lisa and our students there influencing those policymakers. Next, I'd like to tell you a little bit about one of our graduates, Lema Bowie of Liberia. She has recently had a documentary film done about her work to bring peace to that country. The film is entitled Pray the Devil Back to Hell, and you can obtain that on Netflix. Recently, it was actually featured on Bill Moyer's Journal. Now, Lema's work in this area began before she came to CJP, but she came to us for her degree because she felt that it would help expand her horizons. And truly, in the next short video clip, she tells you about how CJP has been able to do that. She's learned conflict transformation analysis techniques, peace building methodologies, and she's expanded her network of contacts in the field. So next, I'd like you to see what Lema Bowie says about her experience here at CJP when she visited campus last October.
My first encounter with EMU actually opened my eyes, or if there was a skill, dropped the skill out of my eye, that I wasn't the only crazy person in the world. Because there were many times prior to my coming to EMU that I questioned the authenticity of what I did. First, initially engaging with ex-child soldiers and whether I was seen as an evil person, because these young people had done tremendous evil in our communities, and how could I be showing them compassion? And so maybe I was mad to be engaging the perpetrators of violence. But when I came here and worked with different people and saw, it really put into context that the word of peace building is just not one-sided. You know, it's not just about victims and their well-being, but if you must have a whole society after conflict, you had to engage with perpetrators also. In the time that I did my graduate studies, really took me from a narrow thinking about peace building African West Africa, Liberia, into thinking about networking and expanding. How can I help and how can I get helped, from some of my colleagues in these other areas. It put a face to those conflicts. The 1 year here, every time there is a Palestinian bombing that go off, I think about Ruba and Fadi and some of the other people I encounter here. And every time there's something happening in Uganda, I know that there's a Nelson, and in Europe, and so it has really narrow, or not narrow in the sense, in a negative sense, but it has made the world a village for me.
Lema Bowie's continued work for peace in Liberia and Dr. Shirk's work with policymakers in Washington, D.C. are just two examples of how CJP is beginning to make a difference both abroad and in the U.S. Again, I'd like to thank you for your support of the Center for Justice and Peacebuilding. As you make your charitable giving plans, I hope you'll consider CJP and join us in helping to foster a more just and peaceful world.